Hey folks, another mechanism video. We're going to talk about the universal joint today, which is really fascinating, and I spent a lot of time in researching it a little bit on the internet for y'all. So the universal joint solves a couple problems that all of our other mechanisms so far could encounter. One of those problems is, what if I want to transmit rotational motion, but my input and output axles aren't parallel and they're not perpendicular either. They're kind of at an angle that's between 180 and 90, somewhere in there. They're not quite either parallel or perpendicular. And the other problem this can solve is it reduces axle strain and wear and tear on moving parts when the angle between the axes does not remain constant. You'll see this a lot in car transmissions and tractor. Oh, I didn't put a tractor picture in, darn. That's what I forgot. Anything that joins two parts where one is running and the other one is being driven, obviously, or the output gear, but they aren't staying in the same location relative to each other. They're bouncing up and down, like your tires move up and down, or you're going over rough terrain or something. So this solves those two problems. It's got two intersecting axles at an angle to each other, and it allows them to transmit rotational motion. And if you look, here's an exploded view of one. It's got a pair of hinges. That's these two pieces here. And they're oriented at right angles to each other. So if you notice, like, the location here of these two holes, they're above each other, and over here they're next to each other. So this angle compared to that one, that's a 90-degree angle. And these are connected by a cross shaft. Once all these pieces come together, you've got that cross shaft in the middle, and that can rotate independently of the other pieces. I did look up some history. It wasn't originally meant to solve these particular problems. It came about from the design of a gimbal. A gimbal is like a pivoted support. It allows something inside to have just one single axis of rotation. You have a whole bunch of them, and what you get is things that they stick with gravity. You get gyroscopes and things like that. So the innermost piece can remain stationary even if the support is tilting or tipping. And so this is like an old ship's compass. If the ship were to tilt back and forth with the waves, this compass, you want it to not tilt. You want it to be as level as possible. So that's an example of just the original design. What the original idea was like a gimbal. Keep stuff sort of where it needs to be. Universal joints themselves, they were invented like the year 300. In Greece and in Rome, they used these in their siege weaponry. They had this thing called a ballista. I found this from like a do-it-yourself page. I was trying to find a good picture of the universal joint. I did not get a good picture of the universal joint. Everybody's more interested in other features of ballistas besides the universal joint. I don't know. Maybe I'm just weird, or maybe it's because I'm teaching a very specific topic that I can't find much information. I'm sure I could find more if I tried harder, but it's late and I'm tired. So it's like a crossbow, a ballista is, and when you're on the battlefield, you want to have some control over where you aim it, but you don't want to have to take the whole thing apart and change parts out and reattach axles and put it back together. You want to be able to fire it as quickly as possible because it's a war. So that's what the universal joint was actually invented to do. And from what I can tell, I've been looking, like I said, I've been looking for like half an hour at ballista videos and pictures. I'm trying to find a good picture to put. This is the only one I can kind of find. I don't even know if that's actually from his ballista. This guy actually made some of these siege weapons himself. He constructed them by machining the metal parts and all the wood parts himself, put it all together. He has a whole blog about it. It's really cool. But it looks like they had there's the hinge part down there, and this is like a kind of a partial cross shaft, and what it does is you can tilt it and aim it up and down, and that'll change how far the projectile goes and how high up it hits on a target. So like if you're attacking a wall versus if you're attacking infantry, people on the ground. So anyways, that was a fun tangent I had. I also discovered that some people call the hinge parts yokes and this cross shaft a spider. And when I saw yokes and spiders, I thought of chutes and ladders, and that means it's too late for me to be working on these. I did find some cool videos. I'm going to have these links kind of up here. Here's a good video to catch because there's a lot of kind of complicated motion going on when you got universal joints. Because of the way the cross shaft moves, you're not going to get smooth rotation on your output shaft. Your angular speed, your angular velocity will change a little bit as it goes through the rotation, and this video has a good explanation of that. There are ways to make an output shaft that has a constant velocity, and it's a further specialized joint called a constant velocity joint, and that's really cool too. I'll put the Wikipedia link up here. We don't have any constant velocity joints in our kits, but you know, we might be able to, maybe I can 3D print one. That'd be kind of cool. So where are these guys found in real life? You can find them in vehicle transmissions. That's primarily where they're used in modern times. Vehicle transmissions and tractor stuff. Let me open up a new window, and over here I'll search while I'm talking. There it is. Okay. So yeah, there's a lot of places in here where there are universal joints. You can see not all of the parts are completely level to each other. Sometimes you have the motion needs to be transmitted slightly up at an angle to another shaft and down again. And then like if you have a tire or something that's bouncing up and down, it's got shocks, it's gonna move, it's gonna change that angle that these connections are done at. You're of course gonna find them in ballistas and other siege weapons. This guy here says it's right there. And you look again, it looks like it's just one hinge and this thing just tilts up and down. Here's a picture. I found a bunch of hits that said that ancient tower clocks had universal joints in them. I couldn't find a good picture. I found a couple of like research articles I'd have to pay $25 or more to access, and I was like, I'm getting way too deep now. But here's a picture that like Google mined out of one of those. This is a Hooks mechanical sundial thing. I don't know exactly what's going on with it. I wish I could access those articles and tell you all, but I am probably getting far more in depth than you ever wanted to know about universal joints. Suffice to say, they're pretty cool. And yeah, I wish I could find a picture of a tractor with one. Oh, here we go. Here you go. There's a universal joint. As a tractor, because you know tractors, the engine on a tractor isn't just to run the tractor. You can also run other mechanisms and machines that are attached to the tractor, and so you'll have universal joints because you know if the tractor goes over a bump, this entire shaft will get bent or damaged if it's not attached with something that can move with that bump. Anyways, I think that's all for now. Y'all have a wonderful evening, morning, afternoon, day, weekend, and I'll talk to y'all soon.